Hello. Today we're going to be talking about some more alternative forms of income that you can use on homestead or otherwise. And I'm really excited to have a Christian business coach with me today that I've known for quite a while. And you may hear birds in the background, my husband on the tractor, the children playing with the dogs. This is Real Life on the Prairie with Dawnita of prairiedusttrail.com, weathering the dust storms of life with God's divine help. And I have with me today Katie Hornor of the Flamingo Advantage.com. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes. Tell us why Flamingo Advantage. What is that?
Well, it's an honor to be back again with you, Dawnita. I always love our chats. And the Flamingo Advantage came from the book that we published a couple of years ago, Faith Like Flamingos, that then became the Flamingo Advantage book this year as well, this last year. And we're talking about embracing exactly who God made you to be and what he put you here to do and leveraging that to your advantage. So leveraging what we call our quirks to look at them from a position of their uniqueness that both attract and repel people to me, and I get to serve those people as God designs. And so that's your Flamingo Advantage.
I love it. I absolutely love it. I did not know, we talked about this in the last episode. I did not know some of the things about flamingos. You know, we've got chickens and we've had peacocks and ducks, and oh my goodness, flamingos are definitely a different kind of a bird.
Yeah,
um,
for sure they are. And the one flamingo fact that kind of throws everyone for a loop is that the flamingos have milk. And they're like, what? Birds have milk? But they do. The male and the female can produce a milk that they feed the young with. And even their milk is pink. Like their blood is pink, their tissues are pink, their feathers are pink, but even their milk is pink. And I had one person tell me, he's like, I will never look at strawberry Nesquik the same again.
oh, that's funny. No, whenever I was nursing our babies, Paul would tease me about the chocolate side and the vanilla side because they always seemed like they had a favorite. Oh, ah, that's funny. And we name our cows whenever we have a dairy cow, we name them like Hershey's or something like that. We do that
There you
too.
go. You'll have to have a flamingo now.
Yes. Something that I'm kind of excited about and hoping to visit one of these days is you guys have got a B&B type thing down there where you're at.
Yes,
Tell
we
us a
do.
little bit about where you are, why you're there, and your B&B.
So my husband Tap and I live in Mexico. We've lived here for 16 years now. And we've lived in Campeche, the city where we are, for the last 12 years. And about 6 years ago, we were able to buy a historic home, and we've been restoring that little by little to be able to be hopefully like a bed and breakfast retreat center eventually is the dream there when the kids are grown and gone and all of that. But in the meantime, we've been able to, we just finished the end of last year putting an apartment in the back that we're able to turn into an Airbnb and get some rental income coming from that. And then last spring we put in a pool, and so we're able now to advertise this as a vacation spot. It's a little studio apartment and really beautifully done with the old mosaic tile floor and the old style, but new in terms of the facilities and all of that. It's got a mini fridge, which my son was really excited about. But it's been a lot of fun then to see people coming in. We get a lot of Europeans in our area who visit because of the history here, the European history in our part of Mexico. And so just in the last couple of weeks, we've had people from 5 different European countries, I think, and now someone from the United States. So it's been a really neat way to bring in some income and also kind of open up those hospitality doors again and get to meet some really cool people.
Oh, that's really neat. I've had somebody else on the podcast, Jennifer Elliott, and when they bought their little homestead, they've got 2 houses, and one of the houses they're renting out as a hunting lodge. And just having those multiple streams of income is just always good, whether you're homesteading or not. it's just always good. You've got a lot of other irons in the pot that you've had for a lot of years, including the Flamingo Advantage and Flamingo business stuff. Tell us some more about some of your other things that you have going on.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Yeah, we may have to think out loud even what we've got going on. We have our books, of course, that I was telling someone just today. I consider books more of a lead magnet than an income generator. They do bring in some income, but our biggest reason motivator behind putting them out into the world, I think, is just to get our message out and to bring people to get to know us and bring them into our world through things that they can sign up for or coming back to find us through the books. So we do have that, and it does bring in some income on a monthly basis. And then we have some homeschool materials that are printed materials that are for sale, and that also brings some in as well through Amazon. Affiliate links that we share from time to time on our blog or our podcast or different things. And then obviously the courses, the Flamingo Advantage framework course that is brand new this spring, as well as our Queen's Mastermind program. So a couple of times a year, we'll do enrollment events for some of those programs, and then we get to serve our people the rest of the time and the Airbnb. So I don't know, is that like 6 or 7 different ways at the moment, I guess?
It can add up, can't it?
Yeah, for sure.
I just looked back at my Amazon income for last month, and of course the holidays are always the best time to be selling books, and I was really happy with the total that I had there. It wasn't enough to, pay the electricity necessarily, but it was a nice little bit. So
Yeah. Yeah. We have a Christian alternative to the Elf on the Shelf activities. And we've created something called Milk the Christmas Monkey. And he always sells several, lots of copies in October, November. And then of course we see that income about February, I guess, because of the delay. But it's always kind of fun to see that bump up in Christmas time. So
yeah, yeah, I know that's really cute. I got that for our one of our little grands.
oh
And
yay.
I don't know if they did that with her this year. She's a little over 2. She'll be 3 this year. So I don't know if she was quite ready for it this year, but yeah, probably next year they'll be doing that with her. I think that's great. Bringing Christ into everything that you do is one of the things that attracted me to you and that has kept me leached onto you. That's probably not a good way to put it, but I love that everything that you do is Christ centered. Absolutely. And you really encourage and challenge other people in that. And one of your best things, I think, is in your business endeavors, whatever they are and however many you may have, uh he is the owner. God is the owner and you are the CEO. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, it's my favorite thing to talk about. I don't think we could have a center other than Christ who gives us life and breath. Um, when we actually transitioned into full-time business from full-time ministry. So we had to go around and raise our own funding in much the same way as a nonprofit would to be able to go overseas and do mission work. Originally, that's what brought us to Mexico. And then as those ministry opportunities went away, we realized we still wanted to stay in Mexico. We still wanted to do ministry, but we needed a different way to fund it. And that's what brought business to us. And that's how God moved us into being a business owner and a business coach then later. And you can't do that as a Christian. I don't think you can have a business without there being this feeling that God should be in this too. And I know that as we transitioned into business and we're struggling with how much faith do we bring into it, eventually I got to the point where I couldn't not bring faith into it, and it became stronger as the opposition became stronger because I had people telling me, people with more experience even saying, well, you need to stop talking about Jesus or you're not going to get any clients. Or, if you wouldn't bring Jesus into so much of this, you'd get more people signing up for your stuff. And I was like, how could I not? Right. And I really believe that our businesses are a mission field in themselves. I believe that this is one of the best ways that we can go into all the world and preach the gospel. And that has really become the basis of everything that we teach in our business classes and our coaching programs. And you don't have to be a Christian to sign up for one of those and to learn from us, but it is something that we bring into each of it, because the truth is that business is not about you, it's about people. And God gifted you your talents and your abilities and your knowledge and your wisdom and your experiences so that you can help other people. Right. And when we look at it from a people perspective, you have to acknowledge God in that. And when I can look at this as God's business that I get to steward as his CEO, it takes off a lot of the pressure that I used to feel when it was my business. It takes off a lot of the anxieties that I used to have around doing business or making sales or bringing in clients, because it's no longer about me providing for me. It's no longer about me looking to humans for the money that I need to provide for my family. God owns this business and he is going to, it's his responsibility to provide, right? It's just my job to show up and do every day what he created me to do, which is serve my people. And it really is a great way to live life and do business.
Oh, I totally agree. I've heard so many business coaches talk about what is your goal? What is your life that you don't want a vacation from? Is it living in the tropics or living in the city or moving to Paris or whatever it is? And I had to really stop and think about that one day, and I'm like, well, it's right here. I'm living my dream, and a lot of people I think have the same dream. They want to I didn't have to get out of the city to come here, thankfully, but a lot of people, they're stuck in the city and they're stuck in the 9 to 5 grind of what they're doing, and they want out and they want to get, closer to the land or do mission work, but they feel stuck where they're at. And if you want to live the life of your dreams, whatever that is, then stepping into a business ministry or ministry business is kind of how I like to think about it, is the best way to do that, because you can make your life part of how you bring in your income. A lot of people think that some of the opposition is if you're doing something Christian, you shouldn't charge for it. And that
Yeah, I
can
hear that a
be,
lot.
oh my goodness. Ugh,
Yeah, but first I'd love to just reiterate what you just said back there, in that if you think you need a dream business, like the only thing keeping you from doing that is taking an action today, right? Like some people look at us like we're superhuman because we live in Mexico, and like we didn't we didn't say someday. Like we said, what do we do today to make this happen? Right. And when we came, it was more about raising funds and finding a ministry to be a part of. And when we chose to stay, then it was, how do we stay and make this work? Right. But we weren't saying in 5 years I'm going to make that work. And I think that's the problem a lot of us get stuck in, is that we think that these dreams that God has put in our heart is for someday, instead of taking action on those dreams today. Right. And maybe it is exactly where you are. And maybe your definition of success is just enjoying what I have and being focused on the now with my kids around me or with whatever it is. But maybe your dream is to be focused on the now and the kids around you in a different location. You don't have to wait 5 years for that. You can take a step today that gets you closer to that. And I just wanted to point that out for your people, because I'm going to wait until God makes that clear. Well, he's already clearly put the desire in your heart, like take an action, right?
I love that. Yeah, we're always waiting on God to provide the boat and not getting in it whenever it shows up, or
Right. Or
right.
forgetting that he gave us arms and legs to swim with. I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah, yeah. I just get out there and start doing what you need to do. I've talked to a few people. It's like you get to talking to them for a little bit, and then you realize, okay, they want to do this and they want to do this, and they've got this and this and this and this, and I'll just, well, have you done this yet? Well, I hadn't really thought about it. I didn't think I was really ready. It's like, well, it sounds like you've got everything you need for this one step. Write that book, do that thing, make that art, whatever it is, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. I totally agree. And the whole thing about, not back to your next question there of not charging because this is ministry. It is a question that comes up a lot. And I think a lot of us get stuck in that idea that if it's ministry, I can't be paid for it. However, scripture, if you go back to truth, not what you've heard, not what you've learned, not what so and so said, not what I thought all my life, go back to scripture and study it out for yourself, because I don't think that's what scripture says. When I studied it, I found that the laborer is worthy of his hire. I found that the people we look to for an example in how to live our Christian life were in the marketplace. They were sellers of purple. They were sellers of perfumes. They were making tents. They were serving people as doctors, right? And they didn't do it all for free. I'm sure they did some of it as, a blessing work for their friends and loved ones, but they were in the marketplace. And in the marketplace, they could create those relationships that allowed them to build trust, to have an opportunity to share Jesus with the people that they came into contact with. The world will never become evangelized if we wait for pastors and missionaries to do it. You have been called to go into all the world and preach the gospel, and there is no better way to do it than through a business, because people will listen to you, they will pay attention to you, they will enter into conversations and agreements with you that they would never do in talking to a pastor or someone who knocked on the door of their house or handed them a tract in a public location, right? You can build those relationships that allow you to have an impact in people's lives. And maybe you won't get to give the gospel in every case, but in every case you can shine a light for Jesus. And in every case you can give them reason to question what they have always believed about who Jesus is, and have an opportunity to shine a light for the world. And so I think it's absolutely honorable to charge for your work. And I think we should all be looking at ways that we can do more work. And the more money that I make, the more good I can do in the world, the more it allows me to serve more people. And the more people I serve, the more opportunities I have to show Jesus to the world. And so that's the short version, right? I could talk about that for a long time, but
Well, I think we tend to take things out of context and out of focus, and people think about Elisha and his servant that ended up with the leprosy, and God saying not to accept money. Well, that was a specific circumstance. He was a prophet. He was probably, well, definitely, there are instances where he accepted barter. He accepted a room to stay in, he accepted food to eat. He was not to accept money to make him rich, but if somebody made him a coat, he was going to wear the coat. So we need to think of money back then was very different than what we think of money today. And the way that people traded and bartered, was part of their income and stuff, and probably needs to be again today. We probably need to think of that more along those lines today and be able
yeah.
to barter
Yeah,
again.
and the specificity of the context is huge too. And I think so many things in scripture have been taken out of context. Really diving in and studying even the passage that you just alluded to, like this, it's very obvious from the context of that story that this was one specific example. If the Lord speaks to you about giving something away, then give it away. Like follow God first.
Yeah.
But no business can survive and still be a business if you're constantly giving everything away because you don't want to charge for it, right? And so there's a definite call to being responsible with the things the Lord has entrusted into our care. And there is also a definite call to walk with him in such a way that I am conscious of and sensitive to his leading in the moment for those occasions in which an exception is to be made.
Yeah, that's being connected. If you're constantly in the word and you're constantly connected through prayer, and then when those times are. We have our own ministry. It's not a 501c3, but we minister to the unchurched in our area. And these are people that have worked out in the oil patch or the old cowboys who don't feel comfortable in church or don't feel welcome in church or are still under the thought process that maybe they've done too many bad things, you know,
Mhm.
and those are the people that God brings to us just out of the blue whenever we meet in different places or they come to the house. And, to be able to gently lead them to the Lord and say, hey, the Lord does care. And he look at him because sometimes whenever you're in the thick of it, you can't see what's going on because you're just right there in the middle of everything. But somebody else can see, "Oh, wow, look at what the Lord's doing in your life, and look at how much you've grown, and look at these blessings that you have." And to have somebody else turn around and point those out to you and go, "Oh, yeah, I wow, I didn't realize that God was there and that this has been happening." And it's just it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to see people that light bulb go off and to see them grow in their faith in a very different way than what the church generally tends to encourage.
Yeah, those conversations are fabulous. And we're not downing church in any way.
No,
But saying that I think a lot of times those of us, especially more in conservative circles, like the ones you and I have come from, Danita, I think that the church as a whole tends to consider people with full-time business as sort of less than someone who is a full-time minister. And I believe otherwise. And I think it's part of my calling is to help those who do have a business to realize that your calling is just as high, right? Your calling can be full-time ministry if you choose to see it that way. And you can have just as much or even greater impact because of the place that God has uniquely put you in the kingdom to do this work. But we have to see it that way. We have to embrace it that way. And we have to look for those opportunities to serve him and use it the way that he designed it to be.
definitely. I think that the people that I've seen throughout my life that have been the successful ones, the people that other people look up to and enjoy are the teachers, the farmers, the nurses who that is their calling and they believe that is their calling from the Lord and they embrace it as their calling from the Lord and they minister in the way that they can, under the different circumstances to their neighbors and their students and with that love from the Lord. And that makes them much more successful, much more fulfilled in everything that they do.
Yeah. But coaches and engineers and um, consultants and service providers, like you can choose to see your business as a calling too, and have just as much of an impact with the people that you do business with on a regular basis.
Definitely. Definitely. Yeah. It can go off into all industries. I know I've been with you for a long time and you have coached almost everything, it seems like. You've had women from so many different walks of life all over the United States and beyond that you have coached with the same principle, these same biblical principles. They fit anywhere.
Yeah, they really do. Whether it is, somebody in real estate or whether it is someone who is um, teaching English as a second language to kids around the world, or whether it is someone who is doing SEO work for corporate company, like all different walks of life. But the principles of doing business by the book don't change based on what the business is. Right. The principles are the same, just like the principles in scripture of character, your kindness, your love, your gentleness, your peace, like none of those change based on a different personality. We're all supposed to have those fruits, right? And in our business too, regardless of the niche or the type of business, again, they will know you are Christians by your love. That main character line that goes through everything becomes a foundation that it doesn't matter what the specifics of the business are, you can still show Christ through your business when these kinds of principles are applied, internalized, learned, applied, because you are the CEO walking with your God in a personal relationship and being able to build those principles into your business.
Definitely. Definitely. And it also, having these principles in makes you portable. You can do your work that you're called to do wherever he calls you to be. And in our tumble world today, with everything all upside down and inside out, that's important because you could be transplanted from one place to another, whether that's what you plan to do or not. You can end up in a different place. So it's important to be in a situation where you can be sustainable no matter where you're at. And I just think that's eh, just huge to stay that connected and to realize that it's God who sustains us in everything, and is He who leads us. And
Yes. Yes, for sure. I mean, when our ministry opportunities closed, we had to sit and say, okay, Lord, it was you that brought us here. What are we supposed to be seeing next? Right. And we had to be willing to take that next step with him, which was into business. Right. And then different business opportunities have come to a close at different points in our trajectory. And we've had to say, okay, Lord, what are we supposed to be seeing here? What's the next step? And so, um, at the beginning of the year, we always think about planning and goals and things like this. And it's super important to set those, I believe, to have kind of a mark that we're going for. And yet we also have to be yielded to him in every moment. Every step of that journey towards accomplishing those things has got to be yielded to him, because his ways are higher than my ways. Right. And he has everything that I need for life and godliness, but I've got to be plugged into him to know when he's asking us to change directions or to move a couple degrees to the left so that the result is what he wants, rather than just what I'm going for, because that's what I set and I'm just going to dogmatically go for it. It's that walking in relationship, that sensitivity to the Spirit's leading, that can make things easy, that can make things light, that can make it feel like fun and joy, not the burden of I have to. Right. And that's the kind of business we should all be desiring and working towards having.
I absolutely agree. I absolutely agree. Well, I've really, really enjoyed this. Where can everybody find you?
The easiest place to go is the flamingoadvantage.com. You can get a free book, just pay shipping and handling there. You can listen to our Flamingo Advantage podcast, contact us on social, all the things right there. The flamingoadvantage.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I know that there's a lot here for people to be encouraged by, and definitely pick up the book. It's an excellent book. I helped edit, and I really think it's a good book.
She's very picky on her editing jobs, by the way. So it's good if Dawnita edited it.
That's great. Oh my goodness. And we've got the magazine coming out pretty soon. So visit prairie-trail.com, and right there on the front is got the button for the magazine. And we would love for y'all to subscribe, and definitely subscribe here and like and comment and all that good stuff. We love hearing from you. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's been an honor.